Hi, everybody. Welcome to Breakout Room D. We're going to get started now. I'm going to introduce Ximena, Sunil, and Umair. Ask them to take the stage. And let's give them a big round of applause. Yay. I'll just ask you to hold your questions till the end. We'll take questions at the very end. And with that, I'll turn it over to Sunil.
Great. Thank you. We're here to talk about FinOps, an aspect of FinOps, but an incident happened to me 2 days ago. And it was really about my own health ops. So I thought I'll tell you that story and see if you can find some similarities. I made a mistake on Tuesday by not tagging the workload correctly and realizing that if I'm going to go out and work in the yard, I should be wearing long pants. Next thing you know, a hornet bit me. And once the hornet bit me, I did not have any monitoring in place to see what the damage actually was. I didn't have a baseline on how thick my leg is actually supposed to feel and how tight. Consequently, I had a lot of stiffness. Not only did I not have monitoring in place, I didn't do any analysis after the fact to take care of it in a more expedient manner. Worst thing is that I did not listen to my health ops analyst, my wife, to take the remediation action that I should have taken, which would have resulted in me not standing in front of you in pain. Now, what I found interesting about this when I was thinking about it is that, my God, I am thinking about my life in FinOps framework terms. And that just happens because FinOps framework has such great applicability to so many things. I'm Sunil Bhargava. I lead a cloud and infrastructure practice at Kyndryl. I'm really happy to be here with two of my friends with whom we have helped with their FinOps efforts. Ximena from NextEra, the largest electricity power holding company in the US, world's largest renewable generation company. Umair, who's going to talk about Life Labs, the largest medical labs company in Canada, 400-odd outlets. So let's get going. These are the folks we're going to talk about today. And let me first start off with a shameless promotion about the FinOps Foundation. The FinOps Foundation is an exceedingly important organization that Kyndryl is proud to belong to. Kyndryl was spun out of IBM 2.5 years ago as the services arm of IBM. And today, it's the largest infrastructure managed services company. We had over 300 certified practitioners at the time that we did this slide. Today, I think that number is a little over 350. We have 4 active contributors in Focus that I hope many of you have attended the sessions for, something we're very proud of. And of course, we have a seat on the governing board to encourage the use of FinOps, to encourage participation in the certification programs. Now, all of you have received an email with a coupon code for the FinOps certification examinations. They are open till July 6th. I hope all of you take advantage of it. It's a really important part of our FinOps community to drive certifications, to drive the value of the language, the framework, the discipline, because it's an important thing we do for our employers. It's an important thing to do that we do for our customers. So I hope you all do that. When we sat down to discuss what drives innovation using FinOps discipline, we found 3 important elements across our customer base. The first was literally the initial reason people get interested, which is savings. Savings on their cloud spend yesterday, their SaaS and private cloud spend today, as you saw in the keynote. And while the analysts talk about 20, 30, 40% savings, we see in our initial engagement to be driving much more than that. Umair, what was your experience?
I can tell you that Life Labs was able to achieve close to 40%. Now, there was a lot of pressure, a lot of things that we done, but we made sure that there was no customer impact, no customer experience challenges, and we were able to save around 40%.
That's excellent. And that's initially get going. And then, of course, there's opportunities to do that continuously. That is the way you fund innovation. Now, one of the things we have noticed is that until about a couple of years ago, most of our customers spoke of cloud first, cloud only strategies. That is not something we see repeated in the market today. What we're hearing about more is we're going to be hybrid, but we want to apply cloud disciplines to our hybrid environment. That really ends up translating to all of you that we want to apply FinOps discipline to our hybrid environment. Not just for delivery, managed services, et cetera, which is absolutely true, but FinOps. So that's the second area that drives the innovation. Third is applying automation wherever you can. And Ximena, what was your experience with automation?
We have to apply automation in order to get more efficient. And the way we were doing modifications in the infrastructure, so before it was like a manual effort, having agents in support doing those transformations in the infrastructure, but we found out that the automation, applying automation techniques for doing changes in the infrastructure was the way to go.
Yeah, that's excellent. We find the same thing, and we have made investments, obviously, in patenting some of the technologies, but that's what the leading edge way to develop innovation is the most effective. Now, the second thing that I walked through is, I know this is a busy slide, and I apologize for that, but the biggest way to accelerate adoption of FinOps is through collaboration. Collaboration across the business and IT, collaboration within IT, and certainly collaborating with your ecosystem of vendors and service providers. So the things I wanted to highlight here for you is when it comes to generating a multidisciplinary squad, building their capabilities, it's a skills challenge. So what we do is we bring to our customers either an architect role and or an engineer role and or an analyst role, so that around that we can help skill up the capabilities that you will hear Ximena talk about NextEra, Umair talk about Life Labs. That enables the squads to be developed. The next thing is building the culture of collaborating across the various stakeholders. Now, the key thing to remember is that you get what you measure, right? So if you're trying to do collaboration, you gotta have KPIs on either the outcome or on the collaboration itself so that you can measure your progress, you can provide the steer to the teams in order to achieve the goals that you're going after. Now, FinOps started with cloud. Cloud had two important aspects to it, right? Transparency and empowerment. Empowering the developers, providing transparency through the dashboards and APIs from the cloud providers. What FinOps discipline adds is accountability. Because when you have more empowerment with the help of greater transparency, you can actually take on greater accountability, which completes the circle. It gives you more empowerment because the rest of the organization finds that you're being accountable for your spend. You're accountable for the risk you're taking. So with that as the basis, let me invite Ximena to talk about the experience and the journey that NextEra Energy ran through.
Thank you, Sunil. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us. My name is Ximena Carillo, and I work for the Enterprise Data Program at NextEra Energy. Today, I'm thrilled to share with you a successful story that exemplifies the impact of the cost optimization in the cloud. This story is not just about savings and numbers. This story is about innovation, collaboration, and the pursuit of excellence. Everything started with a visionary company, my company, which understood the need to explore different avenues in order to get savings and at the same time reduce cost. Let's walk through together on the details of this story, and we hope it can inspire and at least show us our own pursuit of excellence. First of all, let me tell you a little bit about the company that I proudly work for. NextEra Energy is the largest electric utility holding company by market capitalization, with more than 72 gigawatts of generation capacity and more than 15,000 employees across US and Canada. NextEra Energy is the world's largest generator of renewable energy from the wind and sun. Florida Power and Light, FPL, one of our affiliated entities, delivers rate-regulated energy to more than 12 million people across nearly the half of Florida. And my favorite, we are leading the decarbonization of America, which means that we are working very hard in eliminating the carbon emissions from our operations. Isn't it, NextEra, a cool place to work?
I think so.
I think so. Now, let me tell you a little about what my program, my team, does for the company. Enterprise Data Program team, we hold the 75% of the data information. We manage 75% data information that is based for the analyticals, machine learning, artificial intelligence, and data science in the company. We store more than 10 petabytes of information on our platform. We support hundreds of applications, and we serve more than 15,000 employees. Now, let me tell you what are the business objectives of my team. First, we wanted to increase the cloud maturity with FinOps. Our cloud, the NextEra migration to the cloud journey started 6 years ago, more or less, and during all these years, we have been maturing the practices to migrate to the cloud by automating developments and developing native services. We started seeing also during these years that the cost of the cloud host was increasing, so we said, okay, we need to take a look to those and see how we can make it under control. We understood that keeping the cloud cost under control is crucial for a successful cloud migration. Second business objective, we wanted to enable the consumption and waste management. We understood that there were multiple techniques in order to check the consumption and utilization of our users, our instances in the cloud, and also methods to determine the unused resources. We want to learn about those and apply. Third, that was an internal goal for my team. We wanted to reduce the 25% of the cloud cost in our platform. And fourth, we wanted to establish commitment-based discount strategy by checking where the patterns of utilization of our instances in the cloud, and at the same time seeing where were the projects that were coming to our platform. We can come up then with better agreements with our cloud provider. So can you imagine all these business objectives and at the same time how vast our information was in our platform? Let me walk you through the way we saw these processes, we saw these objectives and the problems, and how we solved them. We started seeing different options in order to start optimizing the cost in the cloud. The first one was anomalies detection. We also explored best practices while architecting, developing, and operating in the cloud, taking in consideration the cost. And also we opened an RFI to come up with visualization opportunities in different tools around the market. Also, we wanted to have a full assessment of the patterns of consumption and utilization in our platform. And it's when we started this engagement with our old friends, Kyndryl, where they did have very good optimization, successful projects in the company as well. So we did a 2-month engagement with them in 3 different phases. Those were the deliverables. So the first phase of the engagement was the setup and data collection. So we put together a team that was they have NextEra and they have Kyndryl, and we come up with this access requests into our platform to get access to all these instances utilization in the cloud. The first deliverable of this first phase was what we call the quick wins, which was actionable items that we could apply immediately to our platform and get results very quick. The second phase was the analysis and correlation and validation. After the quick wins were provided, we went into deep dive into the information that we have available to take a look to and come up with the 5 recommendations for the top most used services in the cloud for us. Also, in the third phase, we came up with the transfer knowledge, what we call knowledge transfers, which was come up with sessions to learn exactly how to apply those practices or those recommendations in the operational basis moving forward. Also, we got a roadmap of how to execute those recommendations using our agile practices in the company. So what was the result? What were the results of the engagement? First one, we were able to identify more than $1 million in savings after all this analysis was done. The second one, very important for us, our team learned how to apply those practices for determining the cost optimization opportunities in our platform. Because we understand that the cost optimization is not just one time effort, it's an effort that needs to be applied in a regular basis. And the last one, we presented a case for a roadmap where we could apply those optimization recommendations into our agile practices. What is coming? First of all, we're going to execute those recommendations. In this moment, we're in the process of the validation of those with our cybersecurity team and our cloud team to make sure that the modifications that were provided are not impacting the performance nor or following the best practices from cybersecurity. Second, we want to integrate those practices into our operational model. So we want our support team to run again and again as part of their operational model to discover these patterns and these optimization opportunities in order to get action on it. And last one, which is our ambition, my team wants to become the cost optimization FinOps as a service in the company. We do know how to do it right now. We do have the people, we do have the tools as well, and what we would like to do is to extract that information and apply that across the different groups in the organization. So that's my story. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ximena. That was fantastic. Now, the things about Ximena's story and NextEra that really appealed to me is, number one, the platforms they're focusing on, data ingestion, advanced analytics, being able to manage the new systems that are generating a lot of the data. This is all setting the stage for the AI work their company is definitely going to do. So being able to do FinOps on the environment that AI is going to start consuming on is a great head start. The second thing that really appealed to me about the NextEra story is their focus on the carbon footprint. That's a focus of the entire company. So that's a culture that comes right back to her department in loads. And these are the two things you must have heard in the keynote this morning when JR talked about how we are going from cost to carbon, how we are going from just focusing on the cloud to focusing on SaaS, private cloud, and AI. So just a lovely experience. Thank you very much, Ximena. Umair, Life Labs. We'd love to hear your story.
Sure, thank you so much. And tough to go after you, Ximena. It's not going to be easy for me, but I'll try. So, Umair Dinarwala, I lead the cloud practice for Kyndryl Canada. I've been working with Life Labs for a bit over 3 years. Our relationship started during COVID. And it segues into what Life Labs does in terms of business. Life Labs is the largest medical laboratory services provider in Canada, associated in Ontario and British Columbia, which is where the largest populations live. If I am also a customer of Life Labs, like if I want to have a blood test done, I have to go to their portal that runs on Azure Cloud today, and I actually have to book an appointment. All my tests are uploaded over here. So Life Labs is all about customer experience. Of course, they're all about accuracy as well in terms of tests as well. But again, it's all about the experience for the patient, for the end user, and for us as well, right? So wanted to give you a background. Life Labs, again, a lot of very important in terms of customer experience. During COVID, they had to step up their game. It was very important to actually address the challenges of COVID. We all went into lockdown. Canada was probably known for lockdown the most, right? We probably went down into lockdown probably 12 times in 2 years, right? And therefore, they had to ramp up. And just before I get into the business objectives and why these business objectives came about was because Life Labs actually had to address all the challenges of COVID. And due to that, they had to ramp up their experience, ramp up in terms of the flow of traffic that was coming into the portals, onto the applications, and all the customer-facing applications were running on the cloud. So Life Labs actually, if I say that, to be safe, the cloud spend increased by 3x during this period. And the whole reason was because they had to ramp up, they had to be very fast, they had to be agile as well. And another thing is that they had to actually build their own application and deploy them. So therefore, a lot of their control went to the development community and the developers within the organization, which means that, of course, now you've got a free hand and people are provisioning stuff as well. So all of that was there, but that was the time where it was the demand, it was the need of the need for the people as well, right? But as COVID went down, thankfully, reality sunk in. The reality was we need to make sure that our operating costs go down. We also need to make sure that our customer experience does not reduce, because that's always going to be primary importance, right? That's going to be there. So therefore, one was operating cost, but also we didn't want them to actually just reduce cost one time, but then after 6 months, 12 months, something else comes up, you have the same situation. So therefore, they wanted a governance framework as well, and an operating model that allows them to actually control cost, predict cost in the future as well, and to be able to manage those systems and manage the environments pretty well, so that reinvestment could be done in innovation, could be done in AI-related projects, in new projects that would allow the business to grow. So that was the business objective. And therefore, we embarked on the FinOps journey. Kyndryl and Life Labs embarked on a FinOps journey where we actually formed a FinOps squad, a combination of multidisciplinary, different division people come together so that we can actually create a culture of collaboration. And Sunil talked about it. Collaboration is the key. And therefore, we had people from finance, from procurement, from IT operations, from applications actually come together, and that allowed us to actually go into deep dive of the environment. That allowed us to actually create a culture and a collaboration that would actually allow everyone to actually collaborate, make sure that everyone has that responsibility. And therefore, that was one of the most important things, because that allowed us to actually go into more detail and actually help the customer and Life Labs realize savings and potential savings of around 36%. But the story doesn't end there. The most important part was basically the governance framework. That is the most important part of realizing the value of FinOps. And we've heard about this in multiple sessions as well. As I said, we had the developer community actually gaining control. So services were being provisioned on a regular basis. Services were actually not being turned off as well, because there was a lot of test and development work going on at that time. So when we went into looking at the environments, there was a lot of the environments that should have been decommissioned. So therefore, the most important part was, why not create a service intake form that allows to actually check what should be provisioned, what should not be provisioned. But in parallel with the service intake was, how can we actually build in automation and automation scripts that would allow the automation of provisioning, but also the decommissioning of environments that actually are not functioning anymore or are not required anymore, of course, due to certain criteria that would be there. The second thing, and again, when I said collaboration, is the roles and responsibilities of everyone. There is a role that finance has to play. There is a role that has to be played by procurement. There is a role that has to be played by the developers. Their role has to be played by IT overall, right? So that was defined. That was going to be very important for the organization so that they can actually follow the policies, follow the guidelines and the responsibilities as well. The third one was cloud policies. We wanted to bring in the best practices from FinOps, from the cloud as well, to actually allow Life Labs to actually adopt those policies, adopt them so that they can actually make sure that best practices are being followed. Last but not the least, Sunil gave a very good example on tagging. Tagging strategy was the most important part, because Life Labs did not know which application used most of the resources, which was consuming the most, but also which application is actually generating the most revenue, and what is the ROI of each application that is being deployed. Because there are numerous projects happening at Life Labs just to try to build out better customer experience, bringing in new products and services. But what is the ROI of that? What is the consumption of that? What is the cost of it? Do we know that? That was a big challenge. So a tagging strategy was established. And that tagging strategy is now helping them actually decide where to invest more, what are the applications they should be expanding more, because there's actually more revenue generation happening over there. So there was a lot of focus on that. And I think that was one of the most important parts of the whole study that happened with Life Labs, because that actually allowed Life Labs to build out their own FinOps practice. This is a more of what I would call it a visual representation of what we did, right? If you just look at on the left-hand side, is it the left-hand side? Yep, left-hand side of the screen, you see that the whole FinOps, the challenges were listed, but also the FinOps squad that was formed. The FinOps squad, and how did we actually get into the savings aspect of it. There was a lot of focus on performance metrics, right sizing of the environments, looking at the licensing models, looking at how they can actually save and leverage the power of cloud as well. So again, it was not all about saving cost. It was also looking at the architecture, looking at the optimal architecture that doesn't impact performance, does not impact any customer experience. And the focus was that how can we actually eventually increase customer experience by having a lower cost and a lower operating cost. And on the right-hand side, if you see the governance framework, there are 5 pillars to it, or 6 pillars to it, as we call it, right? Well, the one is basically your best practices and principles that need to be followed. The RACI and the team that was formed, the service intake and the onboarding life cycle, then building in automation as part of it, automation scripts so that you can actually do provisioning, automated provisioning, the governance and compliance, and how would you actually govern the whole operating model going forward. And then the tagging strategy and the KPIs that are going to be very important as you actually monitor that performance. Journey ahead. I can tell you that Life Labs has implemented 95% of the recommendations that were given. We had actually proposed 36% savings. Life Labs has achieved almost 40%. What's next for Life Labs? Making sure that the governance framework that has been built out needs to be followed. Therefore, a practice team has been established, and that practice is now adopting all the policies, making sure that all that was defined is now being implemented as we go forward. And last but not least, one of the things that are going to be very important is continuous optimization, continuous improvement. FinOps is a culture. It's a cultural change within the organization. It is continuous optimization. And Life Labs has now started adopting that, and they're reaping the benefits of it as well as they go along. And
Thank you,
That's
Umair.
great. That's a round of applause.
The reason
It's a great presentation. Thank you, Ximena. Thank you for sharing your story. And Sunil and Umair, really appreciate your theme on collaboration and culture. We always say people, process, and technology. And I really appreciate you kind of carrying that theme through your presentation. I'd love to open it up for questions, if anyone has questions for the team on stage. And I'll bring the mic over to you so we can get your question answered.
While you guys are thinking about questions, I had a burning question, so I thought I'll ask that first. But please don't let that take away from thinking of questions for these two wonderful colleagues of mine. The question I had is, maybe I asked you first, Ximena. You've been here at the conference for over a day. You came in yesterday. What have you already learned?
From the first one, I think not everybody's running. Not everybody is running, right? Everybody's like, it's a journey. And when we start running, it's almost something else, a new challenge that is going to propose us also to work better. So
That is a really good takeaway. I'm going to definitely take that back to my team. Umair, what have you learned?
I think what I've learned is that AI is something that I want to adopt more over there at Life Labs. I think Life Labs is looking for that. And the adoption of AI in FinOps is going to be very important as we go along in the journey.
Yeah, I spoke about FinOps for AI that Ximana's team is focusing on. I did not think of AI for FinOps the way JR had talked about in the morning.
Exactly.
Good call. Excellent. I hope that gave you time to think of questions for them.
My question is, would you like the host job because you're doing better than I am? So. A sign of an excellent presentation is not a lot of questions because you gave all the information, I think, right? All right, well, big round of applause, and don't hesitate to come up and ask the team questions about their journey. Thank you. And an extra round of applause for Ximena for doing a great job presenting, yeah? Yeah, awesome. All right. Thank you, everybody.
Thanks for watching. Check out more FinOps X 2024 content on our YouTube channel on the 2024 playlist. Support our channel by liking, subscribing, clicking the notification bell, and by leaving comments and questions for our speakers. We appreciate your support.